Photosensitivity warning, viewer discretion is advised. Man, I'm getting really bored of King of Fighters. It's just the same thing every game. Oh, if only there was some way these games could be changed up. Maybe add some new content, new moves and characters, change the mechanics around, rebalance stuff. I don't know, do something absolutely crazy with these games even. Wait, what's that? On the horizon? Is it? Oh my god, it is. This is what I've been waiting for. So I think we're all familiar with ROM hacks. You take a game, change its code around to make something new out of it, and bam, you got a ROM hack. The real answer is probably more complicated than that, but that's the gist. There are countless ROM hacks out there, or even ROM patches to add on top of games. But what about fighting games? Sure, people talk about the likes of Street Fighter 2 New Legacy or Street Fighter 3 4th Strike or Ford Strike. But there's plenty of other hacks to look at for other games too, such as Street Fighter Alpha 3 or Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. But the King of Fighters series is an absolute treasure trove for these kinds of hacks. There are so many hacks that I cannot possibly even begin to talk about all of them in a single video, let alone describe every nuanced difference from the base game. Seriously, you could play every ROM hack available on Fightcade, MAME, KOF, whatever other emulator there is, and you still wouldn't have played every KOF hack. It's one of the biggest SNK rabbit holes there is, and yet few people talk about them, no matter how crazy or creative they get. Now, fortunately for you all, I dug through the sus corners of the internet and came across a very sus-looking CD full of Latin American malware that infects your computer with nothing but KOF ROM hacks. Now then, the potential likelihood that my body will be harvested next week exported directly to Brazil for pirating video games on the internet aside, what better excuse than now to look at these hacks today? We'll even learn some foreign languages on the way there. For the sake of brevity, I'm going to cover these hacks in groups because again, there's way too many of them. So today I'll discuss only KOF 94, 95, and 96 and split it up as I move along as needed. And I'm only going to talk generally about these hacks. I won't go crazy in depth with most of them because otherwise this would take years to finish, and even then, I would need help finding every exact detail that's changed to begin with. But where do these hacks even come from? Well, they're usually from Latin America or somewhere from East Asia, commonly China. And some of these hacks aren't even hacks, they're just bootlegs, but I'll still discuss them since they're relevant to the topic. As for who the people are that make these hacks, it's anyone's guess, as I can find almost zero details on these people, but there are common names that pop up when looking around these hacks. E.g. CG is the most common name you'll see pop up, but there's also people like FCHT, Yameji, Yashiono, among others. If there's any way to get in contact with these people, I'd love to, but chances are that would require heavy amounts of digging and talking to them through Google Translate. So for now, they're a mystery to me, but hey, that won't stop me from diving in to play them. And for the ideal experience, I'm going into every single one of these hacks almost completely blind. So not only did I have to find this thing from dark corners of the internet, but I also have to mount this thing through daemon tools just to play it so my PC thinks it's loading a CD. Alright, let's pop this bad boy in and see what we've got going for ourselves. NeoGeo logo, alright. Nothing happens, but I click on it, and now it boots. Ah yes, copyrighted Naruto music. Just what I needed with my KOF. Truly, nothing says Latin America like having a random selection of anime music thrown in. Well, okay, in actuality I don't know if this is Naruto for sure yet, but alright. We're greeted with KOF97 box art, and hey, I really like 97, so this is welcome to me. Choices are installation, all 10 NeoGeo mainline games, and extras. Before we get to KOF94, well hey, it's a relic of the internet history, let's dig around a bit. And there says opening and N options on the art too. But I click on N, screen goes black, I click again, and the music is gone. Meanwhile, opening does the same thing, I guess. I click installation, and my PC immediately alerts me to a Trojan virus alert, all the while KOF 2000 Athena, Best Athena, gives us a stare down with Portuguese instructions on installing a keyboard and mouse. I guess. Explains almost nothing, just original ROMs and to use WinRAR for something.
身近にあるもの上に気をつけていないと。
Then here is NS. Same thing, black screen, though I think this is supposed to play an anime music video or opening. Nothing like a cute pop idol to give my PC virus threats. Just what I needed. Thanks, Athena. Extras, and again, the virus protection sets off, and this time it's KOF99 Whip who greets us. And okay, this time, I am convinced this has to be Naruto music of some kind playing.
We are fighting dreamers 高みを目指して。
From this point forward, I'll just list a given track that plays in the menu as opposed to playing a sample, you know, to make sure Japan doesn't put the fear of Kami-sama into me with copyright strikes. There's free videos included to watch, but unfortunately they all black screen, so I don't think they work. One of them is titled Bleach and Naruto though, so my Naruto guess is probably not far off. There's also a random assortment of OST and ACT tracks included in here. My only guess is it was the creator's favorite tracks, but nothing special otherwise. However, there's 2 KOF Kyo tracks included. Doesn't loop either, and this last option I assume lists all the tracks out on a disc and a music player, but it just pulls up a blank void. Same with the videos. You can also listen to the menu music here, which, yep, there it is, Naruto and Bleach. Never changed Latin America, never change. And lastly, there's just the most random assortment of images in here, and some don't even load. Who knows? Oh, and there's this random image of Kyo with his girlfriend Yuki included, which you can click to view separately, I guess. You know, I'm starting to think maybe this was a bad idea after all. Anyways, let's finally play some KOF94. And seriously, again, it sells off a virus threat. Joe, have you been visiting shady sites lately? Now, for as much as I'd love to start out with a bang, I unfortunately have to start out with a whimper. There's very few KOF94 ROM hacks, and almost none of them are anything special. The blue check mark is a list of commands. I assume to run the emulator it includes WinCowax. So we have 5 ROM hacks and the original game. And hey, neat, an info tab is included to list out the changes. But before we do that, this Previa option means we get a slideshow of the ROM hack in question that we're about to play. I genuinely have no idea why it's displayed like this, but alright, I guess it has to do with the super low-end PC limitations this person probably had. Now, finally, let's play something. But hey, safety first. We'll play the original KOF94 just to get a feel for the disc and how the emulator is set up. So we click it and whoa, wait a second, why am I being greeted with Bleach waifus? Little risque, but okay. I click to load game and there's no games included. Well, this is where I screwed up when setting everything up. Is what I would like to say, but the actual method I used to fix this issue is in reality quite stupid. I tried unzipping the files in different drives instead, and a few other tedious methods, but nothing worked. Eventually I just said screw it, looked through the files and the disk itself, and lo and behold, inside a hidden folder is the completely hidden installation.exe file. And as soon as I clicked that, it installed the ROMs immediately. Why does it need to install the ROMs? Beats me, but they're saved as .bin and .q files of all things. This is also where I found out that yeah, those opening buttons actually are supposed to play openings. They're saved as .avi files and are Naruto or Bleach openings. Turns out the CD itself is supposed to have an opening, but I don't have any clue what. That Kyo loading image is a whole magazine in Spanish that I can't read at all. And the images were all hidden away here too, but it's nothing special. Just lower res official artwork and posters you can very easily find online for each game. Though this KOF Saga folder is a ton of miscellaneous images. A lot of it is still official, but it also includes fan art with no source to who made them either. And no, there's no KOF porn in here, but art from porn artists is included anyway, so it may as well be deemed not safe for work. And excuse me? You know, the crazy part about all this I just realized isn't even the bizarre contents of this disc. It's the fact that this might have been someone's childhood right here. I mean, maybe I'm stretching, but is it really that difficult to believe either? Or at least now, you too can say, I saw a bootleg malware CD with KOF ROM hacks, play anime music and random fan art, and anime screen caps between all the actual KOF content. Certainly not something you hear every day.
君は君だけしかいないよ。代わりなんて他にいないんだ。
Okay, for real this time. Finally, I set everything up and we can play some games. And no more explaining that weird bootleg CD crap. So load up KOF94 and... oh great. Everything's in Spanish now. How am I supposed to use the emulator now? And not to mention, some text has Hanzi or kanji mixed in, but you can hardly even read some options. Maybe this is because my PC's region locale is set to Japan. Well, I had to pull out Google Translate just to figure out how to pause the emulator in case I needed to. The rest I figured out eventually with some fumbling about. So load up the game, lower the audio because this is loud as hell. Looks good so far, but this smoothing filter looks hideous. I figured it out eventually, but unfortunately I can't figure out how to make it look better than this, so the footage is going to be a little blurry as a result. And changing the window size also changes the game resolution, so we're not doing that. Oh, and for some reason you have to pause the emulator to close out of it, but this also means it runs in the background after you close it, so I have to task manager off completely. Lovely. Controls screen looks weird too, but I quickly figured it out. Everything's set up so we can finally play something. And yep, it's KOF94, nothing special. Thankfully I'm accustomed to the emulator now. So let's discuss the first ROM hack, Hack Boss in Color. Not very interesting, it's just a change of the game's color so you can play as Rugal, that's it. I mean, they're not bad color choices, they're pulled from the future KOF titles. So let's see if this game offers anything. Oh god, that title screen looks terrible. The color mixing really makes this hard to read at all. Why would you change this? And not to mention, the smaller version of this logo is still the same color too. Well, those are certainly different colors, alright? That's the entire hack. And nope, the 2P colors aren't any different. They're all just the default P2 colors in KOF94. Picking Rugal for some reason makes you pick order, but this is just because the invisible slots are his second form. This happens when you switch from first form to second form, and it places theme. Going from second to first form does nothing special though. Rugal is debuffed in that you can only lose 2 rounds as him as opposed to 3 rounds. And yeah, he's as broken as you'd expect him to be in both forms. His move list is significantly easier also, just quarter circle motions for everything. God Press is for some reason 6123C, but that's it. Yeah, that's it for this hack. Hack Boss lets you play Vanilla 94, but you can select Rugal, and only his second form is playable. Oh, and by the way, every time you load up a new game, a new image greets you on the WinCalX screen for that extra Latin American flair. And all the settings are reset to default every single time. Oh, and yeah, whatever the WinCalX image included is, I'll just show it and the preview images, but make no comment on them for each hack. They bewilder us by themselves. Hack Boss Remixed is a weird ROM hack because it's just Vanilla 94, but the power meter fills up instantly. And, the projectiles are certainly different. Quite huge, in fact. This applies to only most characters, though, not all of them. Andy and Joe don't get any changes to their projectiles, and moves are all the same from vanilla otherwise. So why was this even necessary? It also changes the dodge mechanic where you attack immediately, and I guess you have more iframes too. Kyo just gets a screen nuke projectile that you can only avoid by spot dodging. And Terry's projectile becomes Power Geyser, making his actual Power Geyser obsolete in comparison since it has the same hitbox. Terry's already one of the strongest characters in the game, so why did he even need more reason to break the game? Supposedly some inputs are made easier too, but I wouldn't know what those are. Remix Ultra 1.0 is kinda weird. All it actually does is change the inputs of specials and supers to reflect that of KOF98, which I guess, yeah, I'd much rather have 98 inputs than 94 inputs, but this being the only change to the ROM, and Rugal, is pretty pointless too. It makes the game more accessible for sure though, and gets rid of the ridiculous super inputs for some characters, but nothing new is added. If combined with other quality of life features, this would definitely be a big improvement for KOF94, but being the only change of significance here, at that point I'd rather just play vanilla 94. Super Remixed is just the other hacks combined into one. And yeah, that's literally it for KOF94 ROM hacks on here. There's not even any hacks on Fightgate I can talk about. You know, I would guess at the very least, there'd be a ROM hack to let you pick characters regardless of their team. I would guess this isn't possible because of the way the game is coded, but there do exist hacks where you can switch teams up. However, the method for doing so is incredibly weird and the ROM itself probably doesn't even exist anymore. It's all just buried on YouTube for people to see, but not actually play as far as I know. Because if there's anything that would make 94 better, is being able to switch your teams around without playing 94 Rebound with the weird graphics and balance changes from the original. Combine that with the cleaner 98 inputs and you might have something worth playing. To explain briefly for those who don't know, KOF94 being the first entry of the series, based the roster not on 24 playable characters, but rather 8 teams of 3 characters, and you picked based on the team, not per character. Beyond all of that, there's just nothing interesting to talk about with these hacks. They're more personal projects than anything that really sets it apart from the vanilla game. Nothing wrong with that, of course. ROM hacking isn't easy, but it's quite a letdown too in this collection. Bummer. But we can move on to the KOF95 hacks next.
あの日本当に失ったものって何だったっけ?
So this time we're greeted with KOF2000 Takuma for the KOF95 menu. I'm not sure why they couldn't just use 95 Takuma art, but it's better than KOF94 using CVS 2Joe, which isn't even an SNK game, probably because it's Shinkiro art. The info on this first hack is a bit confusing since it's more of that jumbled up text, but I'm also too lazy to change the locale to something more appropriate if that is the issue. But it's basically all just timer related stuff. So then, we boot up this boss-like NeoGeo CD hack-up, and it actually starts as an AES mode this time. So we get the console settings. And yeah, literally the only changes made here are no selection timers, and the bosses are selectable by default without needing to use a code, because apparently the former mattered. I have never played the NeoGeo CD version of any NeoGeo games. I don't actually know if there's any comparison to be made with the NeoGeo 95 and NeoGeo CD 95. But I'm gonna guess not. Boss Remixed is just like the KOF94 Boss Remixed hack, but it somehow manages to be even worse. This time only Kyo and Terry have changed projectiles and everyone else is the exact same. Terry's projectile has changed to AFG's projectile instead, and Kyo still has the Screen Nuke projectile. That's it. No Mai projectile change, no Athena change, no Hydern change, nothing. It's even lazier than a 94 Boss Hack Remix changes. And again, did Kyo really need to have an even better projectile than he already has? No, it's not the best projectile in the game, but Kyo's already god tier of the game for several reasons. Why make him even more broken? Slight correction. Hydern became a stand user. Hack Color Edit is also just like the KOF94 Hack Color variant, but I guess it's more of a lukewarm reaction this time. There are no serious title screen changes, and the character portraits are also changed a bit, but blue backgrounds and Why is Hydrant purple? The plus side is that the P2 colors are changed too, not just the P1 colors. Yuri looks a bit... well, it's just not very cutie anymore. And the less said about Chin, the better. I really don't like these color choices, some of which are again pulled from future KOFs, but it looks worse here because of the way the color palettes are used to make the sprites. In general, the color mixing just rubs me the wrong way, like they're very undersaturated, but I don't know. Well, at the least, it's more interesting to talk about, so I'll give credit where credit is due. At least one hack... game? Oh great. The game resets itself after one round of arcade mode regardless of the result. PPX Hacks Team is an incredibly pointless hack. It changes the motion inputs for only some special moves and some supers. Boss is selectable and the power meter is always full. That's it. Here's the crazy thing too, like King's fireball input. She completely lost her D fireball and it got replaced with double strike. So instead of benefiting King, she lost tools because now she only has one fireball speed for both Venom Strike and Double Strike. King isn't strictly a zoner, but why would you actively remove tools from her? And in general, some inputs I just couldn't for the life of me figure out how to do anymore. This is me completely failing to do Rugal's God Press Super because it got changed to something else instead of half circle back. And they're not even good changes either, they're just Rugal's Genocide Cutter's Quarter back instead of Reverse Tiger Knee Kick. Which, sure, if you're a casual it's an improvement, but play the game regularly and that's not even an issue. And while we're on the topic, I love how these ROM hacks think that making the power meter full at all times is a necessary change that needed to be made. KOF95 is already notorious for having huge damage where basically the entire cast can kill you in a single combo, but giving players full meter when they have the damage increase at all times just makes that even worse to deal with. And if someone pops super on you in desperation, you're basically dead. To clarify, having full meter at basically all times is a staple to several of these KOF hacks, some of which also stems from the fact bootlegs frequently feature said meter being full. I'm just some dumb American. It could also be a cultural thing that other parts of the world find full meter fun to play with, or it's what they grew up with when playing these games. I don't want my complaints about many of these hacks featuring full meter to be the focal point. After all, much of this video is only my opinion on said hacks beyond showing that they exist. I just think that at most, it's entertaining for 5 minutes before I'd move on. You don't even need hacks for full meter matches if you want it, just load up UniBIOS and turn on the cheat for it. Having full meter in 94 and 95 only really means you have access to super and a damage boost at all times, which isn't too interesting to me. Something I forgot to mention while recording and writing this script too, having full meter lets you guard cancel into specials and supers, just block an attack and do the special. It's a lenient window. But this too I see as a double-edged sword. You get to see the mechanic way more than you would otherwise, but I feel like it would also lead to people turtling a lot more when you can punish many more attacks with it. I love high damage and being an SNK player. I especially love the fact these games are broken. Full meter is just an alternative at the end of the day, but one I'm not crazy about either. Remix Pro is, again, like 94, changing the inputs to match 98 inputs. Really nothing else to say here, it's a quality of life improvement I think could benefit 95, albeit unlikely it'll see the light of day in another ROM hack. If anything, King would especially benefit from such a hack because just look at this move list. There's way too much overlap with her moves. It's very easy for the game's input reader to think you want one thing in 95, that changing the inputs around would be a huge necessity for King. The rest is self-explanatory for everyone else. Though I was curious about something. I wanted to see if the changed inputs removed Kyo's infinite, so I loaded up a 2-player match. And sure enough, Kyo didn't lose his infinite. But, it's doing less damage. In fact, the damage scaling is huge in this ROM hack, even more so in Desperation. KOF94 and, if I am correct, 95 both decrease the damage players take when their life is low, so they technically have more health than the game lets on the surface. Kind of like Guilty Gear, but it didn't scale this hard either. So now we have the reverse issue. Other hacks make the damage way too high, and this hack makes the damage way too low. Fortunately, we're not blueballed this time, since while it's not an exceptional ROM hack, on Flakeade we can play KOF95 Special 2017, which is basically just KOF95 but with quality of life improvements. As we boot into the game, we can select between Arcade or Special mode, though Arcade mode is just base 95 with most of the quality of life changes. Special mode, however, lets us switch between either advanced or extra mode movement. In other words, this hack adds hops and hyper hops into KOF95 now. From what I can tell, there's no real advantage to picking extra mode movement, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Other changes include increased health so rounds don't end as fast, the added hops mentioned, a combo counter, which actually makes this ROM hack ideal for practicing combos in 95, hidden order select, thank God, among other changes. All quality of life stuff. The hops aren't perfect though, some don't even come out because of the shortened jump length, making you land before the attack even has time to come out. The combo counter alone makes this worth playing just to practice combos in because the combos are the exact same as vanilla 95, so now you have a visual indicator to tell you if you're landing your combos right. Perfect for practicing those special move morphs, and especially the charge cancels. And hey, Q Infinite is gone too. Try to do the infinite now, and the opponent gets forced into a knockdown. You can now finally live inside your delusional tinfoil hat fantasy land that the KOF series is in fact not broken thanks to this hack. The Yuri Infinite is still here though. Guess that was too much to change. If you liked 95 but wish it was more polished, then this might be the hack for you then. I still prefer vanilla 95 personally. That sky high damage is too good to ignore, but it still needs hack with real improvements to the game. Finally, there's King of Fighters 94 and 95 Uncensored Hack.
Idealize the screaming pain hearing loud in my brain.
We'll cover one last games list of ROM hacks, KOF96. And with this, we're greeted with artwork of the Fatal Fairy anime. Why, I'm not sure, but it defeats the whole only using Shinkira artwork theory I had. And, alright, I'll be real here. I don't like playing KOF96. It's very important to the series as a whole, and without it, several important stables wouldn't even exist. But man, this game is not fun to play competitively for me. Rolls are short. They have modern KOF movement tied down by a charge meter, which makes for a really awkward paced game. I see the appeal though, but it's not for me. I'm really hoping these ROM hacks can give me something to like about KOF96 gameplay again. I mean, surely, they can't be that bad, right? The first hack we'll cover is, once again, boss-like NeoGeo CD. It's exactly what you think it is. KOF96, but timers are removed in console mode, and you can select Chizuru and gain hits. Though unlike KOF95's Saishu and Omega Rugal, these characters are not tournament legal. It starts with the Uni BIOS instead of jumping straight to AES mode. For the uninitiated, Uni BIOS is a fan-made freeware BIOS for NeoGeo with a variety of helpful bells and whistles. It starts us out on MVS mode, where the changes don't take place. But here is also where I find out pressing F10 to reset doesn't reload the UniBIOS startup screen. So I had to reload the game. Oh, and would you look at that? My controls were reset. It's a nothing burger ROM hack otherwise. It's identical to the 95 variant. Change Blood for Other is a weird title, but maybe it was some literal translation issue. It's an amusing ROM hack to say the least. So basically, Yuri now becomes Orochi Yuri before he's even canon, and yep, Yuri's seen better days. Voice lines are still the same also. You can also do supers without low life or full meter at free will, which makes the meter itself basically pointless now too, other than the rare few times you use it to guard cancel. But not only that, you can switch character colors by pressing start and Switch the character you're playing as by pressing back 80 or forward 80, based on the character select order characters are sorted in. Sort of just like Street Fighter 2 Rainbow Edition. The portraits don't change though, so their colors change too, and every time you switch out your character, they perform their CD attack probably as a defensive mover for when you're switching. Did this need to be added? Probably not, but you can't switch in between rounds, but effective CD means they actually might have considered how switching characters could require giving the player extra defense. That, or they wanted an excuse for why the characters transform. And yes, the characters you currently play shows up on the windscreen. As a joke ROM hack, yeah, I could have fun screwing around with this one. Just the roster might be a bit too big for the character switching part to have as much of a wild effect, but you know, I wouldn't mind seeing this on Fightcade if Rainbow Edition is on there. Just maybe remove the Orochi Iori bit, or at least make him a separate entry. But then again, no one plays Rainbow Edition seriously. Dragon Edition Set 2. I swear I had a fever dream with this one. For some reason, there are decisions like taking away Kasumi's mid-counter and replacing it with her proximity unblockable special. Only this time, you can block it. But she still has her normal proximity unblockable. Geese becomes an even bigger weeb and summoned his inner Ryu and or Dragon Ball Z. Other move properties like DPs were changed to go farther for whatever reason, and stuff like the recovery on moves being reduced greatly. I'm not sure what the point of this hack was. I really don't have much to say, but when I was playing it, I was at least amused, so there's that. Certainly better than some of the other hacks. And for some reason they made Mai's Ryu Embu way harder to do. It's still 214p, but I swear, most times it would only come out if I did it Mortal Kombat style, like down back punch. This is also why I realized the AI is automatically set to level 1 for most of these hacks, which explains why I'm washing it so effortlessly. NeoGeo game team is a color at attack for all characters for all colors with full power meter, instant refill, terrible flashing effect, it's PAL modding before PAL modding existed. That's the entire hack. Hack. That's it. It's literally just called Hack. What an incredibly eerie name to give this game. Is it cursed? Will I summon Orochi clicking on this? It changes some special moves, supers, and inputs, and the power meter is full. But only sometimes. But what exactly has changed? I don't know. As far as I can tell, this is just KOF96 the meter cheats on, but the max mode meter runs out almost immediately anyways, so you have to rush to use it. The KOF96 cut supers were added back in too, but that's the entire hack. Pretty pointless beyond the cut supers. Hack, again, by Wesker this time. Why are these titles so vague and foreboding? Well, let's see if anything changes then. Spoiler, nothing changed. Starts in AES mode and the meter never runs out. The cut supers are gone. I actually started falling asleep recording these hacks at this point too. Man, I can't wait for the plot twist that Wesker spent the entirety of Umbrella Corps' resources into a shitty KOF96 ROM hack in Resident Evil 9. Now, as discussed before, I will not talk about the base game because, well, it's the base game. But we're already here, we may as well talk about the Korean translation, just see what the deal is with this one. I don't see why this would be necessary for a KOF ROM hack collection when the language is clearly Spanish at this point, but we'll discuss it. And these previews don't bode well because, well, that's not Korean. So I hopped into play. Had to manually switch it to AES mode since it only works on console for some reason, and had to manually change the language also. There we go. Korean selected. Replace the Japanese option, but whatever. Let's see how it looks on the how to play screen. Wait a minute. That's not Korean, that's Chinese. Who the hell made this hack? Well, okay. Surely it's fixed in the matches themselves. So I pull up the arcade run, a few geese hopsy infinites later, and it's still Chinese. Kyo's win screen 2. Alright, so time for me to be a language nerd. Chinese being the basis of East Asian languages meant that both Japanese and Korean adopted the use of classical Chinese Hanzi as their writing system way back when. In Korea's case, the Chinese characters are referred to as Hanja. And while, technically, yes, Hanja are still seldom used to this day in Korea, it remains unused in daily life. Particularly because in the mid-15th century, a new writing system called Hangul was invented precisely for this purpose of increasing literacy in the country. Put yourself in my shoes now. You read the text, and you immediately assume it's Chinese text, but then also wonder if maybe somehow it's actually Korean and it's all Hanja for some dumb reason, like the NeoGeo couldn't handle the threatening aura of Hangul. Now, I don't know a lick of Hanja, since it's pretty much irrelevant for learning Korean. But I do know some Chinese. And what does the text say? I couldn't tell you. These are the only words I can make out. The rest, even my Chinese dictionary was befuddled. I found this site that apparently lists the meaning of each Hanja out, but I don't know how credible it is. Still, it's a lead. I quite literally went out of my way to search each word in Hanja to see if they had a Korean equivalent, and still no dice. Just literal translations, much of which is the same as Chinese. Hell, I even asked my real-life Korean and Chinese friends if they knew what this text was saying, and they couldn't figure it out. But the thing is, if this was actually meant for a Korean audience, then they would just use only Hangul instead. The fact that this is using Chinese characters at all makes me believe this hack wasn't made by Korean people at all. Doesn't matter what region you set the game to either, it looks like this every time you select the Korean language. And I couldn't even find any info on this hack online other than a NeoGeo forum asking about the Korean releases of KOF games on eBay. And you might be wondering, Lidge, is it really that important? Just move on already. And you know what? You're absolutely right. But this is the internet, and I needed something to whine about to reach my daily quota. Alright, Lidge, calm down. Think happy thoughts. Orochi Yuri, unknown hack, just changes the Yuri to Orochi Yuri. And like that other joke ROM hack we looked at earlier, it's still the same sound clips and largely the same sprites too. The color palette isn't even different. Okay, so there's remix, 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 remix. Soon they'll finally release an HD remix just like Super Turbo HD Remix and Demand SNK introduced time reversal mechanics into KOF16. Orochi Yuri Remix is a combination of Orochi Yuri and Remix Final 2007. I haven't played the latter ROM hack yet, so I can't really comment on it, but what does it hack change otherwise? Exactly what you expect. Color in different inputs, and the obligatory meter is always full because how dare you actually want this thing called managing your meter in a video game. Kyo's new player 1 color is now Kusanagi, which just looks weird in execution because Kusanagi was made specifically so the devs didn't need to ditch Kyo's fireball move list. Ruka Kusanagi never existed until now, and Kusanagi with no fireball is putting me into fight or flight. Remix 2.5 with quotation marks, new special moves and supers, and changed inputs. Super startups are way shorter too, perhaps a little too short, at least for Yuri. You know, if I played 96 more regularly and I was more into it competitively, I'd be able to tell you what was actually different between these ROM hacks and the supposed alternate inputs that are made, but I don't, and the real answer is probably very boring and hyper-specific to what the ROM hacker themselves wanted to change. It also doesn't help that these info logs are so vague on the details, saying almost nothing about what's actually different. I'd be more inclined to try these out if I actually knew what was changed about these hacks. And honestly, if you really wanted the inputs to change or new moves, just play Vanilla 96 or go play Anniversary Edition. Remix. New inputs that are simplified, except they are the exact same inputs and nothing was changed. I think this was an older version of the above hack. Maybe. I don't know. Remix Final 2007. We already saw it earlier in the Orochi Yuri remix. Different colors, changed inputs, nothing burger hack. Remix Final Standard changes special move and super inputs. New UI and lower damage. Cut supers were added back. Moving on. Alright, finally, something interesting to talk about with Remix Plus 2008 SP. Doesn't look too different, but we'll pop this sucker and pick our team and alright. Round starts, just warm up and move the lever bit. Wait, what? Holy shit. You can move before the round starts. You can't run or hop, but it's still really cool. That alone sells this ROM hack for me. I don't see any other KOF ROM hack doing this. Roll distances were increased too, super flashes, and new moves. Ones that I can actually notice too were added. And, whoa, I can actually do legacy combos now. I mean, to be fair, not much else was actually changed, but the super flash actually lets stuff combo that normally wouldn't otherwise, from what I can tell, and the round star movement alone makes me have fun with this hack. I'd like to see this on Fightcade. Remix Pro 1.0 changes, inputs and special moves. Cut supers were restored. If you actually know what was changed in these hacks, then feel free to let me know in the comments, but I also don't imagine it's much to justify including every one of these variants in this pack. Remix Spring Special is like KOF95 Special, where it's basically just quality of life improvements to the game. This may also give some context to all the other remix hacks on this disc, or at least what they were trying to improve if anything. But whether it has any real correlation, I'm not sure. But at the very least, it makes all the other remix ROM hacks obsolete, so I don't know why they were included either. And fortunately this time, I have my friend, Lava Level Lover, to actually tell me what the changes this time are. Basically, KOF97 inputs, roll distance decreased, and slight balance adjustments to nerf the top tiers. I don't have a lot to say otherwise, but if you're interested in a rework of KOF96 but want to stay closer to its original feel, this might be for you. I don't find it that fun to play, but who knows, it might grow on me someday. It is on Fightcade for you to try out, thankfully. And again, thanks to Lava for the change list, because I appreciate the effort in trying to translate text, but this is why you don't use Google Translate to translate your changelogs. And just the attack power of Nirvana? Well then how am I supposed to ascend from Nirvana to Super Nirvana? Fix some Nirvana. Phew, because I was getting really tired of the old Nirvana reincarnation meta. Pheasant Kyoto. Damon Goro. Joe of Hungry Wolf Legend team was changed to Dongzhang, which you might think is just a really terrible translation error, but no. That's how he's called in Chinese. Same for a few other characters, especially Kim, Chang, and Chui, who don't have direct equivalents in Chinese. And there's Robert Garcia, and not only that, we have Kasumi Mai and Beijing. Or, my bad, I meant King. Translation software never fails to entertain. And who could possibly forget Yurian, Mai Zhuo, Weiss, Guis, Klaza, and Bick. And everyone's favorite villain, Gornitz. Jokes aside though, yeah, it's a decent hack. Remix Ultra 1.2 changes special move and super inputs. Ryu Hack by Yurigami. If I had to guess, it means Dragon Hack, not the literal Ryu from Street Fighter or Ryu Hayabusa of Ninja Gaiden. It's just one of those boss hack mods. Fireballs are different and, well, I don't remember my Yuri being this stretchy. Yeah, so doing quarter circle forward C as Yuri makes her do this instead of her fireball. It's basically an instant anti-air. Honestly, it gets points for originality even though I have basically nothing else to say about this hack, because at least this hack does more than just change a couple fireballs and call it a day. Like, roll distances increase and the UI is different. Finally, saving the absolute best for last, KOF96 Anniversary Edition is without a doubt the highlight of this video for me. It's the kind of ROM hack that, even though I really don't like playing KOF96 competitively, I look at 96 Anniversary Edition and I'm immediately sold. There's 3 versions here, but we'll only talk about 10th Anniversary and AE 2.0. AE 2.1 is the same as 2.0 except EX Kasumi is added, and considering I can't even load the 2.1 ROM on here, then I won't bother. I'll record the ROM that's up on Fightcade for that instead. Just to clarify, it states that it's the 2.0 ROM, but EX Kasumi is selectable regardless. There's a ton of changes here, but the big ones are balance changes. The meter system is changed into a hybrid of advanced and extra modes of 97 and 98, kinda like 99 except actually good, and can enter an even more powered up version of max mode and low health, EX characters to expand the roster, so on and so forth. This one's referred to as 10th Anniversary to distinguish from 2.0. I won't dwell on this version, as it's just the groundwork for 2.0, but what I will mention is that you can still charge up your meter in this version, so you can both fill it gradually or fast charge on the spot. Kinda weird, but keeps it closer to the vanilla experience. Anniversary Edition 2.0 is even better. For one, it's rocking a whole new logo. And just look at all these EX characters. There's even an EX Iori, something regular KOF never had. And 2.0 also completely does away with the ability to charge your meter too, making it so players have to manage meter more carefully, and prevents players from inflating it earlier. The EX characters are pulled from other iterations of KOF, and while new moves and supers are added, the input reader still functions like the 96 input reader, so if you're not used to it, the inputs will feel very stiff. When you charge up a bar of meter, it will change white, and the next bar you build up turns green. This indicates you have 1 bar stored. Fill up the second bar, and you enter the traditional extra mode max mode, where you get the damage boost and you can use the super to quickly end it. This will leave you back to the 1 bar you stored, however, instead of completely killing your meter. At low life, you no longer have the ability to utilize infinite supers. You can enter an even stronger version of max mode, which gives you access to stronger supers. It's really only the basic gist, and if you're a KOF player, the EX characters will explain themselves, even if a few of them are some really out there choices to pull from other games. And of course, a whole slew of quality of life features and slight balance tweaks to make the whole experience more enjoyable. The criticism can be made that this strays too far away from 96 and brings it much closer to KOF 97 or 98, but I think it stands on its own in that regard. is a great supplement to 96. I'm not really doing this hack justice by talking about it here. I highly encourage you to check it out yourself, because while it'll still feel very familiar, the mechanical changes made here pretty much replaces vanilla 96 for me, and especially with the addition of all the EX characters for a bigger roster. This is what I'd consider a damn good ROM hack. ROM hacking isn't easy, and I absolutely couldn't scratch the surface of it. Just look at my computer science grades for proof. I don't want to bash too heavily on most of these hacks, because at the end of the day someone made them out of their own time, trying to improve the overall experience. If anything, I'm more annoyed that so many hacks included in this pack so far have changed almost nothing of significance to the most important part, the gameplay. All of it is either too personal to the creator's preferences or quality of life improvements that, while neat, more diehard players are going to go back to the vanilla game anyways. Or in cases like Boss Hack Remixed, the gimmick wears off after 10 minutes. In some hacks, what was changed isn't even obvious. And at least for me, when I play a ROM hack, I usually expect a whole new experience I can't get with the original game. It's why I like 96 Anniversary Edition so much, because it dared to change the 96 formula so drastically that it stands on its own. This is only the beginning of this ROM hack expedition though, so there's still plenty more gems to uncover. Not that the hacks up to this point aren't already interesting, but there won't be nearly as many boring repeats, and in general, they get very creative later on. And really, I think it's worth checking out these hacks on your own time at some point. Maybe have a party with your friends about the insane nonsense some of these fighting games hack, KOF or not, can come up with. Now, while I'd love to talk even more about ROM hacks and covered KOF97 hacks next, this video's already long enough as it is. I couldn't help but cover this abnormal disc of dubious origins first. But rest assured, there's a ton of KOF97 and 90 hacks to cover for next time. So much so they're going to have to be their own video. I wouldn't be doing them justice covering them all now. I'll cut straight to the ROM hacks for next video. No CD mumbo jumbo. Be sure to check out the next video. This has been Lich Massacre. Yes, Lich Massacre. Some people think it's pronounced like Massacre, and I don't really know why. So be sure to like Massacre, that thumbs up button, hit the sub button, and click that bell icon for future videos. Alright, now recording off of a script. If you watched through the entire video, I greatly appreciate it. Feel free to leave in the comments from criticisms or any advice you have for how I can improve my videos or future videos, whatever script I work on. I've been working on this for a very long while, and eventually I just felt like by the time I got to 96, I wanted to get this out the door because, well, I wasn't very entertained by a lot of the hacks. And then I kept delaying it, a lot of IRL issues, and then I thought I'd be able to get this out before Christmas, and that didn't happen, and now it's Christmas, or by the time I upload this, it's probably already past Christmas, or even if I do upload it then, you're watching it past Christmas, which I don't blame you. But, yeah, I'm drowsy right now. I just hope you all have a nice Happy New Year, and Happy Christmas, Merry Holidays. You can mix and match the words, it's the same difference, same meaning. Hope you're a Santa believer. Between leaving college, having personal health issues regarding mental health, and then Christmas Eve, freaking water doesn't work anymore because a pipe explodes and makes a massive mess, taking up a vast majority of the night and just leaving me no time to edit for the past several while. I just wanted to get this video out the door. I couldn't be bothered anymore. So my editing near the end is probably reflective of that, and I try not to be too lazy. I don't want to be a perfectionist with editing, but I just want to entertain people and talk about games that really most people aren't talking about on YouTube, so I appreciate it. Whatever standard, if I even have one, I don't know what I try to hold myself up to, and I try to live up to other people's standards when I'm uploading content like this. I don't even know if people have standards for me and what they expect. I'm just going with the flow. I hope to see you for part 2. Thank you and Happy New Year. Enjoy your day.